Letters on Yoga, Tome 1, The Supramental Evolution by Sri Aurobindo, Part 6. What the supramental will do, the mind cannot foresee or lay down. The mind is ignorance, seeking for the truth. The supramental, by its very definition, is the truth consciousness, truth in possession of itself and fulfilling itself by its own power. In a supramental world, imperfection and disharmony are bound to disappear. But what we propose just now is not to make the earth a supramental world, but to bring down the supramental as a power and established consciousness in the midst of the rest, to let it work there and fulfill itself as mind descended into life and matter, and has worked as a power there to fulfill itself in the midst of the rest. This will be enough to change the world and to change nature by breaking down her present limits. But what, how, by what degrees it will do it, is a thing that ought not to be said now. When the light is there, the light will itself do its work. When the supramental will stands on earth, that will decide. It will establish a perfection, a harmony, a truth creation. For the rest, well, it will be the rest, that is all. The whole of humanity cannot be changed at once. What has to be done is to bring the higher consciousness down into the earth consciousness and establish it there as a constant, realized force. Just as mind and life have been established and embodied in matter, so to establish and embody the supramental force. It would not be possible to change all that in a moment. We have always said that the whole of humanity will not change the moment there is the descent. But what can be done is to establish the higher principle in the earth consciousness in such a way that it will remain and go on strengthening and spreading itself in the earth life. That is how a new principle in the evolution must necessarily work. It, the world, wants, and it does not want something that it has not got. All that the supramental could give, the inner mind of the world would like to have, but its outer mind, its vital and physical, do not like to pay the price. But after all, I am not trying to change the world all at once, but only to bring down centrally something into it has not yet, a new consciousness and power. This transformation cannot be done individually or in a solitary way only. No individual solitary transformation, unconcerned with the work for the earth, which means more than any individual transformation, would be either possible or useful. Also, no individual human being can, by his own power alone, work out the transformation. Nor is it the object of the yoga to create an individual Superman here and there. The object of the yoga is to bring down the supramental consciousness on earth, to fix it there, to create a new race with the principle of the supramental consciousness governing the inner and outer, individual and collective life. That force, accepted by individual after individual, according to their preparation, would establish the supramental consciousness in the physical world, and so create a nucleus for its own expansion. It is first through the individual that it, the supramental consciousness, becomes part of the earth consciousness, and afterwards it spreads from the first centers and takes up more and more of the global consciousness, till it becomes an established force there. All that is absurd. The descent of the supramental means only that the power will be there in the earth consciousness as a living force, just as the thinking mental and higher mental are already there. But an animal cannot take advantage of the presence of the thinking mental power, or an undeveloped man of the presence of the higher mental power. So too, anybody will not be able to take advantage of the presence of the supramental power. I have also often enough said that it will be at first for the few, not for the whole earth. Only there will be a growing influence of it on the earth life. The descent of the supermind into the earth consciousness, would not necessarily be known by everybody. Besides, even if the descent were here, one would have to be ready before one could get the final change. Not in their entirety. For that, the transformation of the cosmic mind, life, and matter is not our business. It is ourselves that we have to transform and change the earth consciousness by bringing in the supramental principle into the evolution there. Once there, it will necessarily have a powerful influence in the whole earth life, as mind has had through the evolution of men, but much greater.